between laundry piles, work deadlines, and carpool chaos, sometimes what a mama really needs is a little escape. Preferably with a hot romance novel, a rock playlist, and a plot twist that isn't happening in her own life. In this fun and fiery episode, I sit down with Beth Pellino-Dudzic, the high-energy romance writer behind the Perfection Saga, a steamy 6-book series infused with heart, humor, and a whole lot of rock and roll. We talk about why fiction is more than just fluff, how writing saved her sanity, and why every mom deserves a little time to get lost in someone else's love story, preferably with the volume cranked and 0 interruptions. Laundry piling up, kids arguing over the remote, dog pissing on your carpet. It's time to take a mommy break. I give you permission. After this episode, I want you to grab a romance novel. It's got to be fiction, okay? And I want you to climb into bed, snuggle up with a cozy blanket, and I want you to take some time for yourself. It's very important to take mommy breaks. And so today I'm talking with an author, and please don't let me, forgive me if I screw up your name, but it's Beth Pellino-Dudzic?
Dudzic, yeah.
Dudzic. See, I got it wrong. Well, it'll be spelled correctly on my website, everybody. She's a romance author, and she infuses her rock and roll life into her books. And I'm excited to talk to him and rack your brain about being a romance novelist, right? And also all about your series and your books, and giving some of my moms out there a direction on a book that they can choose that they are excited about. So, Beth, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Do you like Jess or Jessica?
Jessica's fine. Jess is fine too. Whatever, float your boat. Just don't call me bad
I'll
name.
say Jessica. I'm happy to be on your podcast.
Thank you.
I love doing podcasts. And, for those moms out there, I was a stay-at-home mom that raised 3 daughters who are now young women. And the mom thing just never goes away. Last week I had 3 of them calling me, and I felt like I was in a circular firing squad with each one saying, "Don't say anything to the other one." So you never stop being a mother, no matter how old they are. And I enjoy it. I mean, my girls are the best project that I did after my books. I mean, they come before the book. So,
right. Okay. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit, just the last 20 years or so, but if you don't mind sharing a little bit of your story so that we can get a little bit of a background of how, what inspires you, and why did you sit down and actually just write your first book? How did you get there first?
Okay. So first of all, it goes back to my teen years and hanging out with musicians in the New York club scene, which was big at the time. And also, dipping my foot in knowing somebody who was a promotional manager for a big record company, and, going backstage and whatever. Plus, my father owned a limousine company and only dealt with celebrities. So it was always being part of it. And when you're 18, 19, and you're like, I really want to sing, you're not equipped. Some people are, but I was not equipped to say, hey, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put myself out there. Did not have the confidence.
Right.
And when I was going to go to college, I said to my parents, I want to be in acting. And they said, oh, no, that's not happening. So I still had my foot in the music world, but when I got my first job, I got a job in one of back then it was the big 8 accounting firms, and it was a great job. I had a phenomenal job, and I had a great mentor. But I was still kind of in the music world. But when you kind of do what I did and take what they call a straight job, some people will call you a sellout. And it's like, because you chose to make money,
right.
Which
some
of them, some guys that I know are pushing 70 and they're still playing in bars, and they don't pay into Social Security. They get paid by cash, and yeah, so the music world. And then I was pseudo engaged to this person who was and I think every woman has somebody like this in their life, who was abusive, verbally, emotionally, and a little physically. But the physical part was a mistake for him, because my father was truly a wise guy. And so,
That's
um,
the Pauline. That's Italian, right? Okay,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
of course.
So, and I knew that we had a little bit of a different life from the age of 5. I kind of, you glean that, and you just never talked about, just know certain things are in your life. I never worried about anybody doing anything to me, because, as this person found out, my father and 2 of his associates made him understand that, um, hitting me was not an
I
option.
love it.
So
I love it. I love it.
yeah, and so while I worked at this accounting firm, there was a guy for 5 years who always wanted to take me out. And I was like, oh my God, no. He was the typical accountant. And just, I'll say this, there are some really cool guys who work in accounting firms, because I had a group of great friends, but he was the typical accountant. And for some reason, I don't know why, um, I went out on a date with him, and I couldn't believe that I was like dating this person. And then he took a job in Hawaii, and I was like, okay, done, over with. And he was coming back every, the 3 months while he was gone. And I did have that ex-boyfriend who was stalking me. Literally, he was stalking me. And so I made the decision to move to Hawaii, and I thought it was only going to be a year. And they saved my job for me. My father gave me a one-way ticket, and I was like, all right, I'll try this for a year, and I'll get to see Hawaii, and I'm come back to New York. Except stalker person, I don't know, back then it was landlines. We didn't have cell phones.
Right.
Called the house and told me he was waiting for me. And that sent a chill up my back. And the next thing I know, I was engaged to this person. I got married to this person. And my parents, they gave me a beautiful wedding in Hawaii. My father spared no expense. And then we did another reception in New York, because that's where family was. And his family was from New Jersey. So my parents, I'm the only girl. So they really went crazy.
Right.
And my father said to me, we don't have to do this. We can,
I swear my dad said the same thing.
yeah,
Like, right.
he said, you don't have to do this. He said, we could have this really great party at the hotel. And I said, oh, I'm stuck. I can't. There's no way, that I could back out. And so when you go into that way, you're kind of like, all right, I know I'm making a mistake, so let me try to make the best of it. And he was extremely successful. I lived an extremely privileged life in Hawaii, and travel. And I wanted children, so I had 3 girls in 6 years, and I was lucky. I got to stay home with them, and I did everything: private schools, preschool. I was the head room mother. I did all of that stuff, which I will tell you is my creativity from when I was younger.
Uh-huh.
When you have that creative flow in you, you can divert it into other things. Like, I used to give the best parties in Honolulu, and people would always want to, oh, we didn't get our invitation. It's like, yeah, because your kid is being mean to my kid, so yeah, I'm not inviting you.
Oh my God, you sound like me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's
Ugh,
face it, somebody is mean to your child, you take that personally. I
right.
mean, I did. I did.
Okay, wait, back
So,
for
but
take a side note real fast. I'd hate to interrupt you because I love your story. Just
yeah,
real quick. Okay, so my neighbors, I'm not going to say where because if they listen to this, they're going to know who they are. They would tell my daughter, like the little kids would be like, "We're going to go swimming." Not you, Piper. And then they'd all go. And then the next time they wanted to go swimming, let's go swimming. Not you, Piper. And
I
they
hate
wouldn't allow
that.
my daughter to go. So my husband, we only lived in the house like a couple months. He just said, we're going to build her a pool, and boom. And like however long it took them to come and build it, that's how long it took to put a pool in for her. And he's like,
Yeah.
screw them. You're not messing with my kid. You know what I mean? And so,
Oh, absolutely.
anyways, I
I
thought I'd
mean,
just interject that because I've always wanted to tell that story because it just shows me how much like my husband really loves his daughter, but what a dad would do for his kid. You know what I'm saying? Like they just don't mess with my kid.
yeah, I was the one. I remember they went to this private school, and it was 25 kids per class, and they went from junior kindergarten to 6th grade. So it was the same 25 kids, and they just
Mhm.
moved.
I did the
And I
same.
had
Private
three.
school was the same thing. There was only it was really small. I only had like four, like 8 boys and me. That was it for like third, fourth, fifth, sixth, same
Yes,
boys
yes,
hitting me on the back with the rulers and giggling as I walked down the aisles. Anyways, it's like when when you go into a private school, it's always the same kids every year in the same class.
yes,
So you
yes.
build like either good friendships or you don't. Like,
Yeah, there's this one girl, and I would always tell my daughters, when they were younger, we did co-ed parties, so it was the whole 25 kids. But as they moved along, they of course wanted sleepovers,
mhm.
and I said, you either invite 5 girls, your 4 best friends, or if you're gonna invite more than that, then we invite everybody. And there were a couple of girls in one of my daughter's class that everybody groaned, and I said, I'm not doing that. I said, if you're going to invite all the girls, then we include them, because my daughter was left out of
Yeah,
a party like that. And I said, that's and I looked at the parents after that, and I was like, shame on you,
right.
that you would do that. And I made it a point of, if it's an all girls party, all of the girls in your class are coming, because it's not fair, no matter how much you might like, and it wasn't that they disliked them, it was just that it was something about them. And I said, I don't care. We're going to do the right
Because you're
thing.
teaching good
And
values because you're a good mom. That's why.
right. So, we have to be those mothers.
Right.
So the creativeness for me was there. And, I would clean my house, I'd be doing something, and I have I had 3 stories, I have 4 now. But the rock and roll story kept coming into my head. And we're talking like over 25 years ago. And it came to me in little black and white vignettes. And the characters didn't have names. And I was starting the structure of the story for a long time. And then about 3 years ago, there was a song that I was listening to. And I said, if I ever do write that book, I want that song to be like the release song.
Yeah, like
And
it's
then I
the
started
song.
saying, why am I talking about writing that book? And this is no joke, and I've said it on every podcast. I was cleaning my house. I'm a clean freak. And the story started coming to me in color. And I was like, oh, okay. 3 years ago, I said, I'm going to write this. And now the story is starting to literally coming at me. And I said, okay, okay. And I turned on the shower. And literally, as the shower was going, the story just flew into me. the names of the characters, where they were going to be from, how I was going to structure it. And I said, I need to get my laptop and I need to sit and write this. And that's how it started. And I also knew I have a sister-in-law who uh, she's been around people who have written screenplays and all that stuff. And it made me say, well, I know that I can't go the typical route, which is you hiring a literary agent, and then the literary agent has to like your book in order for them to sell it to the publishing. So I started doing investigating, and I said, no, no, no. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to self-publish. And that is a journey, because I had 2 or 3 bad self-publishers after me. And when somebody calls you every day and starts trying to pitch $15,000 is our package, and there was one guy every day, and I said, stop calling me. Just stop calling me. And they're like one of the worst self-publishing companies.
So you go through, because when I published my book, I did it through it's kind of like a hybrid company. It's like a Christian faith publishing is what it's called. But I want to do I'm considering doing a self-published romance novel myself, and but I don't know what's the process? Do you have to go through a company, or what do you do? If you don't mind sharing.
No, I don't. I actually want to get that out there to people so they know. There is a site called the Alliance of Self-Publishers.
I've heard of them.
And they list a whole bunch of people. And you're either green light, yellow light, red light. And I dealt with 3 of the red lighters. And all I want to do is take, $15,000, $20,000 of your money, put the book on Amazon, and nothing happens for you. Technically, although Amazon is tightening up I guess you can upload your book. Amazon does not take, like I contacted them and they said, no, you don't come to us, we come to you if you want to get into their Amazon publishing, but you can upload your book. But the book has to be formatted. There is only one style, and that's why you need a team like I have, and I'll tell you how I got there. You need your book formatted. There is one standard that all books are formatted. So even if you uploaded it on Amazon, they would probably charge you for the formatting that needs to happen. Now, the other thing that Amazon has stopped doing is, I guess, and people who did do that did book covers that were AI driven. And Amazon said, no, this was recent. They said, we're not accepting that. So everything I'm saying to you is a big deal. So I went through the Self-Alliance, and there was only about 7 or 8 people who had a green light. And I talked to every one of them, and every one of them had a different way of doing things. And one of them was actually a publishing company in Wales, and I really liked them. But the difference is, even if you're doing self-pub, if you go through a publishing company, they get part of your money. The way I did it, I met my publishing consultant, and what she does all the things like, I bought like 10 ISBN numbers because I will probably need more because of all the stories that I want to write.
Do you get do you buy them in bulk? I know that sounds silly, but do you get?
Yeah, no, you can buy them 10. I bought 10.
Okay.
So this series will be 8 books, and my next book will probably not be a series, but the story after that will definitely be a series. So I'll be buying more. But she does a copyright page. But what she does is she puts you. She gave me like 3 people to interview to be the editor, and you
Because it's
know,
important to get an editor to edit your books, right? You got to make
absolutely.
absolutely.
I if you don't do that, trust me, I have a great editor who keeps me on my timeline, because when you're writing, and I write, and it's like 140,000 words, and they look at me and they say, "No, no, this is 2 books, Beth,"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so I got to cut it,
Can I ask you a
and I
question?
always
How much is one book in? Because I'm curious.
okay. So
How many words in a book? Like
um in a romance book, what they like
the norm.
is between 92,000 to maybe 96, 97. That's high. My books are always 98 because I've cut them, and that's what I'm doing now. With book 4, book 5, and book 6 are already written. So, like, I'm going through book 4, and I have 101,000 words,
Oh,
and I
so
know I have to cut
can I?
it.
Okay, so yeah, it cut. They always say like when you're going out, take off one piece of jewelry because you probably got too much on. It's kind of like that.
Yeah,
I kind of know what you're saying. That like you feel as though it's all needs to be in there, but it's like you do have to like break it down a smidgen because
yeah,
yeah. Can I ask you a silly question? Okay, so
yeah.
series. So a series would be more than 3, right? Or 3 or more, or what considers it a series?
Usually and that's why I'm hustling everybody to get book 3 out, because I'm doing some romance conventions, and people look at you if you have 3 is like, okay, she is seriously a series writer.
Right.
Um, my since I have other books written, and what I'm doing is self-editing book 4, and I'm like, okay, I can leave that, because you learn a lot from your editor. You know, I have an editor who is extremely thorough in everything. She gives me an editorial review of like 30 pages,
Holy crap.
and it's like, okay. Um, but she keeps me on my timeline, and certain things like how long the characters have been together, like when you're writing the story, and my stories are very dialogue driven.
Mhm.
It's like, I want you to feel like you're in the room as they're having these discussions,
Right. Which is
instead of,
the kind of
and
book I
yes,
think
there
it's
is,
the kind of book that I think that type of descriptive, detailed, you're in there, you're feeling their breath, like is how
yeah,
exactly a romance not like at the end you should feel like, damn, I need a shower. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? That's what I agree with you.
yes,
Yeah.
so that's the way I write. And yes, you have to add a little narrative. Like in book 2, I did a time jump. I did several time jumps. So it was like, okay, they're a rock band. They got famous. They have a daughter. I can say that without ruining the story.
Right.
And then I time jumped. And then I timed up, because how many times can I tell you that they went on tour, they wrote, and I have written songs. So
Yeah, so what
there's
type of music is it? Is it romantic or is it like what do you
it's
call it?
hard rock.
Hard rock
It's
songs? That's
hard rock.
awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, I wrote what I knew. Um and so you do have to make those, and that has to be a narrative. And because I have a good editor, there she would say, oh, this is a time hop, and I'm like, what the hell is a time hop? And then you look it up and you're like, ah,
Like
okay,
a time
yep,
hop.
yep.
Okay, so do you put time hop in your book or do you put flashback? I mean, how do you tell the reader that you're going off into a different direction? Because I too, but I didn't know how to write it. Because I am actually not a big romance reader either, but I just have something in me. I'm like kind of like you, where I'm just like
Mhm.
vomiting the words, and so but how do you tell? Like they want a flashback. How do you? But they call it time jump, is what they're calling it,
Well,
or time warp. What do they
for
call it?
me, it's the flashbacks that I have in my book are related to the lead male character and some of his things that have happened to him. I don't really I time jump ahead. So, like I said,
Oh yeah, time jumping is when you move the story like further down the
yes,
road. A flashback is
right.
when they're remembering something. I'm sorry, I've gotten
Right. Yeah, yeah,
there for
yeah.
a second.
And you can do that as long as you do it in dialogue. Like where he said, I remember this.
Right.
And he's having a conversation. So my final edits have been out for a couple weeks. And a proofreader, and you need a proofreader, has to look it over. And these are the things with self-publishing, and I'll get back to that.
Okay.
So I just, she, puts her notes, and I said, I don't understand why this is a head up. So you can fix it any way you want. It's fine with me. They don't change the story, although, she'll say, you repeated this line in, a chapter ago. And it's like, oh yeah, I did. So they don't change the story. And you as the author can always say, yeah, I'm not going to accept that change.
Right.
You can do that. But because I have a good editor, I would say 98% of what she was telling me, I was like, yeah, she's right. I'm going to go that direction. There was one thing I pushed back on her on was there was a song that's important to the story, and we're supposed to be in 2002, and she said that song didn't come out till 2003, and I said, let it go. I said that song is important, just let it go. I said, unless somebody who knows this band really well, which could be, is not going to say, oh my God, that came out in 2000.
Right.
They're not going to. So yeah. So get back to self-publishing. So my publishing consultant, and she does the key words. Like, these are all important things that you don't know until you're in it. Like, you have to pick keywords in an Amazon search. And that is very important to where your book is going to show up.
Yeah, that's what my publisher screwed me on, and they're trying to. There's no way that I don't like publishers. First of all, just put it out there. Like,
right.
Nobody does. I hear nobody does, but I didn't like mine too much, and I'm not going to recommend them to anybody. But yeah, I went through. Okay, just back up for one sec. I want to unpack something, but so. My book is nowhere near the scope of yours. Like, your book is probably like way above what I wrote, but I'm learning. So when in my process, in my process, I actually I went online and I found an editing tool that helped me edit my book, and it'll tell you. I can't remember the name of it, and please forgive me, but it'll tell you.
Let me know what it is.
Huh?
Let me know what it is.
Yeah, it was really good. I probably could find it on my afterwards. I'll tell you, because I can find it, but it's a self-editing tool, and it'll tell you if you use the word like too much, or if you
yes, thank you.
If you use the word always too much, or
yes,
and then it'll give you suggestions on how to rewrite that. And give
now see, that's what my editor, when she gives me the editorial review, like Microsoft Word, I go through the editor, whatever. But she has a list of, you use these words X amount of times.
Yes.
So then I go back, and so
know how many words? Like, I used like 83 times some stupid word that really I could have used many different things. Like,
I know, and then you go to the thesaurus and you start interchanging words.
This editing tool will help you pick different ones that will sound logical, and it's probably getting better now that AI is getting better, because this was about a couple years ago, and AI now is just getting off the charts, but they say, okay, you have 85 of these. You use the word however or whatever, and it says take off 25 or whatever, take off 35, and so you have to go through and do as many as it tells you to, because it'll allow you for so much. And then it'll say, that's just too many. This is going to be acceptable.
Yeah.
So
now my editor gives me that, and I said, I want that program so that I can do that, because she gives it to me anyway.
Yeah, right.
And so and somebody told me, yes, he gave me the name of the application, and I was like, oh my God, I got to get that. So when book 4 comes out, she doesn't give me all this stuff. I can just say, haha, I went through it already.
Trust me, when I gave
So
my book to the publisher, they're like, man, this is written real well. When I first gave it to them to see if they'll take it, they said, man, this is written really good. And I was thinking, like, pat myself on the back because I
yeah,
self-edited
no,
it
I
before I
mean,
sent it. Now they still had more edits because, like, when I put a dash, I guess I was using the wrong dash or something on the
right.
keyboard. So they tell you, like, this is the one you're supposed to use. And maybe I might have had some commas that they felt were in a different direction, but for the gist of it all, it wasn't as bad. I think I had like 2 edits, and which, they went through the whole book twice and they said, this is
Yeah,
great.
that's the usual,
Yeah.
is that you get 2 edits. And so my publishing consultant hooked me up with the editor, and then and she's expensive. And self-publishing, just for anybody out there, it's expensive, and you're not going to recoup the tens of thousands of dollars that you spend. And so then there's another side to this. And the other thing my publishing consultant did was, and like 3 of these people have worked together on several projects. So the woman who does my book covers, she does my website, she does my book layout. She's a phenomenal artist. And when I told her, I said, get ready, it's a series of 8 books, she was like ecstatic. And she does phenomenal covers. And the thing that I've noticed with romance books, which my publishing consultant said, go to Barnes and Noble, look at the romance books, look at the covers, and tell me what you like and what you don't like. And it was more what I didn't like. I didn't like the cartoony covers.
That's me too. I guess I'm more like
don't
Daniel Steele. I want to see Fabio in the person. Like, I want to
well
see,
see
I want to
I
see it.
don't like that,
Oh, I
though.
do.
See,
Oh, I want to see the
well,
muscles.
that's your route, right? I don't like the cartoony. I don't, and I'll tell you why. I don't want, because they're a rock band, a tattooed guy with piercings and, the female lead on the cover. Because I want you, when I describe them in the beginning of the book, I want you to picture this person the way you see them now. Because they're a rock band, you might picture there are several people that fit that description, and you might get in your head, oh, I'm thinking of so and so. And so that character is going to be that person for you throughout the book. And that's why I don't and we purposely don't put faces
Yeah, I
of
don't
the
think I
characters.
wouldn't put a face. I mean, I might put a silhouette of a body, I might show the.
Yeah, silhouettes, like I think for my back cover I'm going to use a silhouette. And so her and I are always, in sync. So she does a lot for me. Then, and this is the big one, because they're working for you all the time, is a good marketing person. You need the marketing person to, they know, like, Red Feather Romance has, a deal. You got to get your book in there. And sometimes it's, offering the Kindle book for 99 cents. And, just whatever promotions are around, they put you in that. Otherwise, your book's going to sit there. And we've done other different kinds of promos. And now, because I think my books have been all over social media, I get a lot of people on Instagram, a little bit of X, and Facebook, who hit me up and want to review my book. And that's an important thing you need too, is
Book clubs.
well, book clubs are hard to get into. I used to host one. And once I started writing, I said, ladies, you could come to my house, but I can't read the books because I cannot let another story in my head.
Right.
And I'm thankful football season's coming because I'm a big football fan. And when I'm writing, if my husband's watching a movie or something, I'm like, lower it. I don't want it in my head. So I either watch the news or I watch Snapped, because
I
it's
think we're
just,
watching the same news. I see yours in the background. It's the same as mine on my
yeah,
computer.
yeah, that's always on.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but when I'm seriously writing, I go on Spotify, and my books do have a playlist. So there is the Perfection Saga playlist, which I do add songs to as I go into the books. And as I said, I've written over a dozen songs, and I'm just waiting for there's a couple of bands who I really like, and I'd be like, "Hey guys, I can write lyrics, but I cannot write music.
Right.
So let's collaborate. I mean, I'm going to give you your due, but
Can I tell you something? Okay, so how do you feel about and I know you're old school, so you're probably I know what the answer is going to be. I don't know why I'm asking, but
yes,
what do you what do you think about taking your lyrics and putting it into an AI generator that generates a song for you? And you tell them like exactly I want hard rock or I want heavy metal or I want soft rock or
I,
southern
I
rock.
I haven't thought about that.
I just wrote a song for my husband for it was our 25th anniversary yesterday, and I wrote a song, and I stuck it into the it's Suno, Suno, and I put it in there, and it created a song, and I put a video montage for him and us about our life. The song is about our life and everything, so it says his name in the damn song. I mean, it's for him, and it turned out really good. I mean, that's just something that you can think about. I know some people in art and artistry type of industry, such as, songwriting and song composing, it's always taboo maybe to go that direction. But if it's just in marketing, it'll be yours. There's no, copyright infringements. You don't
yeah,
get in trouble. You can TikTok that
that
sucker all
that
day long.
that is something. And um, most of the songs that I wrote, and there are two songs that are heavy metal songs that I have yet to put words to, but most of the songs have meaning in the story.
Mhm.
And so they might start off as a little bit of a love song, but they're going to finish with a bang. Mentally, I know how each of the song should sound. I just can't write it.
Right.
And that's why I need, and there's a couple of, they're in my favorite bands. So, and I know they collaborate with people, and it's just like, come on, come to me. Let's work together.
But now you're talking,
And here's the
will they
other.
charge you for that? I mean, now you're talking, above all the other
I would
things.
share. No, I would share. I mean, to me, the only thing I won't share, and here's the thing about self-publishing, and my publishing consultant, that's why I set up an LLC. I own everything.
Mhm.
Everything that has to do with my books, I own.
Yeah.
So I pay them per book, and two of them, lower their rate every time I write another book. Not so much with the editor, though.
See, this is why you
Not
can
so much.
edit, but you still need them to at least edit it. But I mean, if you say take off half the price and only edit my book once, because maybe they would only need to if you self edit most of it.
I don't know. I would have to see. She's very thorough, and I'm pleased with it. But I did say, I said, we don't need a $3,000 proofreader. I said, so we found a proofreader that was way less.
Why can't you proofread it yourself after, like through the edits, right? Why can't you do that?
Because the editor works with the proofreader, because the editor cleans up with the second edit. She cleans everything up. And so then the proofreader goes through it, because I have read each of my books 50 plus times.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally can say the dialogue in some
Page
of the books.
11, blah, 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 paragraph
Right.
2. Like I know.
Exactly. So, because I know them so well. But even with that said, when I go back into it, like book 4 is not released, hasn't been it, but I've gone through that book in the last couple of weeks 25 times. And every time I go through, I'm like, oh, that that doesn't make sense. And so you go and change it, and you go and change it. So the proofreader is really the last set of eyes that are going to look at what's going to be your published book.
Do
So
you just write the book all the way out to the very end and then start your editing process, or do you obsess over each chapter as you go? I kind of wrote the 4, 5, and then I'm like, now I'm going back just to make sure, and I'm obsessing. Chapter 1 was perfect, but chapter 2, I'm running into a little bit of like issue, and I'm like, I'm obsessing over it already, and I should like just keep going.
yeah, no, keep going, because you know what's going to happen. And this is like when I write. And as I said, I have 4, 5, and 6 written. And now I'm putting and I know where this story is going to go. That's why I know it's going to be 8 books. And there's going to be some bad things that happen, because to balance a romance, there is all the good stuff. And I will say my books are dirty. So there is a sexual content to it. Good girl. And so
I mean,
and
I'm
that's
not
what
X-rated or anything, but I'm close to it. I brushed that line a little bit.
I go into it, but because I had a book club, women want to read smut. They do. They want to read word porn. And I mean, I know that there's some book clubs that are, very G-rated and are Christian, and that's great. That's their genre. Mine is not like that. It's about rock and roll. So
Right.
yeah, there's going to be drugs, there's going to be sex, there's going to be all of that in those books. And I don't use I there's no imagination as to what's going on, but I use words that women are not offended by, because
Right.
there are some words that, and we know just by like me having a book club and whatever, there are words that don't want to read,
Like
that
St. Nicholas
ruins.
Day. Like, we don't like
Yeah,
that.
it
Nobody,
ruins the love scene, right? It's
moist.
supposed
Nobody
to
likes that
be.
word moist. I don't know why.
Yeah, well,
I'm
I'll tell you,
I'm just saying.
I try to use the word exotic.
Yeah.
And my editor came back and said, that is not a socially accepted word anymore. And I said, what? What?
Because what? Because
What?
they think of dancing or something, or why?
Um, I don't know. It's not, well,
I hate it when people say this is not socially acceptable. I'm just sick of that crap. I'm sorry, but
yeah,
I'm sick of it.
I was going, I don't like to get political, but it's all part of that horrible DEI stuff. And
Mhm.
it's like, no, she looks exotic. So what's wrong with that?
Right.
Why do
So
we have
shorten it.
to,
Okay, she's freaking hot, or she's a smoke show.
yeah,
What else? What is better? Like
let's not
exotic
dance
sounds
around
actually
it.
more literal, correct? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm not on that boat. And you can tell by my TV,
I know.
not on that boat. Um, so yes, so the sexual scenes are done tastefully, but I don't leave it to anybody's imagination what's going on. But when you said go back, so when I go back into writing, and I know that I've got a major scene that I'm going to write, and I will go back to it in book 6. Every time I stop, I go back 20 pages, or I go back 20 pages and say, I need to get my head back into where we are in the story so I can
Mhm.
continue writing.
Make sure it's
And
cohesive and the scenes
right, so
transition
you go
correctly.
back, and when you said, oh, I'm going to go back to chapter, there's nothing wrong with you going back and checking, like, where you want to know, where was my mind when I was writing this. And so the best way, at least for me, is always going back 20 pages or whatever the number is, and say, okay, I'm back in it. Because for me, and this is and I tell everybody this, I live the characters. The characters are very real to me. The female lead is me. There are things that I have put in my fictional series, it is fiction, that really happened to me, that were really said to me, that are part of my life. And I sprinkle it in all the books. And I always say to people, if you read the books and there's something you want to know, if that's really me, I will answer it. And I did a podcast. I was going to the Austin Book Festival, and I said, "Oh no, we got to stop, find a Starbucks." And I did it on my phone, and it was long. You know, she had so many questions, so I'm always happy. You know, if the podcast lasts longer, I don't care. I've been doing 2-hour podcasts with people, 3 hour. It's no big deal. So she asked me a question. She said, "You know, the one scene in Playing Hard when she does this," she said, "was that you or is that fiction?" And I said, "Oh, okay, you want to know about that." I said, "That actually really happened." And she was just like, oh my God, you really did that." And I said, "Yes." I said, "And I will answer those questions, but you have to read my books. So if you want to know if I did something, then I am happy to say, yes, that was me, or no, that was fiction." Um, it is obviously fiction because I did not, um, I did not fall in love at 20 years old, be in my own band and fall in love with this Canadian, beautiful, long blonde, curly hair with a beautiful voice and fall in love at first sight. That's what happens in the book.
Right.
That did not happen to me in real life. I mean, it would have been nice, but it did not happen. So it is fiction. I sprinkle my own personal thing, but I've gotten to the point that Gina and I are kind of inseparable at this point. So when I write for her, I sometimes say her lines out loud because it's my voice that I'm putting into her. And it's like, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say it like that. I would put an F-bomb in there for sure.
I know. I
And
find it's funny because I do read out loud too, and I say, and I'll go damn, and I go, well, why didn't I just put that in damn? You know,
yeah,
like right,
yeah,
right. That's exactly.
exactly. That's the way to do it. So I would tell you, and off podcast, I'm happy to give you the name of my publishing consultant. She's wonderful, and she will put you, and she gives you the choice of, do you want this editor? Do you want this marketing person? I love my marketing person. My business manager, husband, you know, he's in a certain type of business, and he's always about return on investment, and he's always like, I don't know if we're getting everything. And I said, leave my marketing person alone.
Right.
I mean, she, you know, once the book is published, she's still working because you're promoting the book and you're promoting the series. And so it's a constant thing. And that's where you spend a lot of money. I mean, and if you can try to, and the one thing I will tell you is when the book is published, there's a site called Reader something. I can get it for you. And you pay like $60 and you get 5 reviews. And they dish it out to whoever. And that's kind of a frightening feeling. Like you got 5 separate people.
And you don't know who they are, and they're going to review it. They could say it sucks, or they could say, right.
But I will say that with the 2 books, I've gotten 4.85 stars. I only got 1 3-star, and it was only because she definitely wasn't American, and
Like
she
The Rock?
said I used a lot of dirty language, and I said,
Whatever. Real moms
well, so
curse. That's what I say on my podcast. Real moms curse. We do.
right. So I said to my marketing person, I said, well, I don't like it was a 3-star. I said, but obviously she did not grow up in an Italian family in New York where your father, has other. I mean, I have 3 brothers who are younger than me. I actually lost one of my brothers, but
Oh, sorry.
yeah, early onset dementia and Alzheimer's, and
Mm.
he was my it was me and then him, and it was the 2 of us for a few years before the other 2 came, and he was like a twin. It was horrible to see a very vibrant man, anyway.
That's
So I grew up with
I'm
3
sorry.
brothers.
That's terrible.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we all have stories like that. Um, so living in a house with 3 boys and 3, they all played sports, and so I may have been the oldest and the only girl, and that was special for my father, and I incorporate a little of that in my book or books because,
Mhm.
her family is with her through the whole thing. Um, and so, yeah, there were special times that were, me and my father, but my brothers, my house is it football season? Is it baseball season?
Mhm.
And, the house ran lacrosse. Oh, it's lacrosse. Um, and I didn't care. I am a big lover of sports because I grew up with 3 brothers. But the language in my house was always,
Colorful.
you can, extremely colorful. And, my parents were saying the same things. And my grandmother, my sweet grandmother, um, Jewish grandmother, my mother's Jewish, and she would come to the house and she would say, "Oh, the language." And a few months later, she started dropping F bombs. And I'm like, okay, Nan, okay,
That's so funny.
Yeah, she got into it. She got into it.
What, can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
So about your books, have your children read? Okay, so you have published how many so far? Just FYI, so I can remember.
2, and the third one is about to
It's
be
about
released in weeks.
okay, but you already kind of wrote the whole series before you released 1 and 2. You already had them written, correct?
I had 1 and 2 written, and then I had 3 and 4 written because they kept telling me, "No, you got to break it." And 5 was very long, and I knew I would have to cut it. And what is going to happen? There's going to be some really crazy stuff happening in the last books. So mentally, I know where everything's going. But when you said about my kids,
Yeah.
now,
Did they read the books? I mean,
uh,
and when they got to some steamy, how like awkward? What
okay,
kind of awkward moment was that?
totally awkward.
Okay.
So when I had like the first draft before it went to anybody, um, my middle daughter is she's very much into books and all that kind of stuff. My oldest daughter is just like, I can't believe mom's doing this. Oh my God.
My husband calls it a hobby. Oh, you and your hobbies. I'm like, whatever.
Well, my husband made that mistake. I said, no, this is my business.
Right, 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 right,
This
right,
isn't a
right,
hobby,
right.
baby.
Well,
We've invested
I
too
have
much.
I have a day job, so and I'm doing besides the podcast, and I wrote a book. I'm writing another one, but I actually have a day job that I'm at lunch right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm at my lunch, and so, but yeah, like he thinks like you have a job, that's a job, and he's a concrete thinker, but he's like, good for you on your hobbies. I'm like, but he supports me. Don't get me wrong, like he thinks it's great, but yeah,
No,
it's a job,
once you start getting that involved, for me, it is not a hobby.
right?
And I will say, and I'll get back to the daughter thing because that is a thing. Um, I thinking big. So I know that my series is steamy. It's got music. It's got mob. It's got everything in there. And I believe that it could be a limited series on a streaming network, which I will not give up. 'Cause I've seen what they've done to certain stories that I've read and then watched them and said they ruined the story. Well, why did they do that?
Right.
So, yeah, I would want to be a part of the screenwriting, which I'm going to take. Not look at a few seminars for screenwriting.
There's also an program that
And
you
that,
can get.
yeah,
There's a program you
there
can
is.
get that I've looked into it too, but whatever. Anyways, I'm sorry.
So, so when I started reading to my daughter, that one, the oldest one is like, I don't want to know, I don't want to know, but she's just like, I can't believe mom's doing this.
That's funny.
Although I do have a granddaughter now, and she's a little over 18 months, and she looks just like my daughter. And I was like, oh my God, she's going to be a horrible mother. And she actually is a wonderful mother. So I'm very proud of her. And little PJ went to her, she's doing a little Montessori in the mornings. And I was like, well, you cried when we brought you to preschool. And my granddaughter just like, bye, bye. She didn't care. And so that's a good thing, actually. So like, she's like, oh no. And my youngest daughter is like, I support you in everything, Mom. She said, do you want me to make you shirts? I'll make you shirts with maybe pens. What are we doing? And I will say that my youngest, and it doesn't really affect the books, but it does. She's gay. So anything that I write of a sexual nature, she's probably like,
Whatever.
yeah, okay,
It's a
Mom.
little cringy, but
My
whatever.
middle daughter, who we used to call the sheriff, I would start reading a passage from the book, and then I would stop. And she said, "Why are you stopping?" And I said, "It's a sex scene, Chelsea." I said, I really, I don't want to read it to you." And she's like, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I'm uncomfortable reading it to you." And she's like, "I'm in my 30s. Like, why is it?" And I said, I'm your mother. I'm not going to read it to you. So they have bought the books. And I know that they're like, what is going on in our mother's head? Like, she is not the same lady who raised us. There's something different about her. And they're not wrong. So yes, my thing is, if they read it on their own, they can have their opinions. I'm not reading it to them. Not doing it. And even and my mother, bought and read all my books. She's like, I can't wait for book 3. And
My mom's the same way. My mom she's a really good, my supporter. I mean, yeah, I got to have your mom supporting you. I swear, if you don't have your support of your mother, I don't know what I would do. So,
well, I will say this. My mother did not support me in my creativity when I was younger. And that's why I didn't sing. That's why I didn't do any of that. But I have found my voice. And I will say that we get to it, especially when you have the creativity thing. Like, you have the creativity thing because you're writing. So it's in you. You just have to release it. And once it's out, you don't reel it back. It's just, you got to put yourself out there. And so many people have said to me, gee, you're not like most authors, because authors don't want to put their face out there. That's not me.
right.
I want to be Good Morning America. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I mean, I'll do it. I'll do anything to get my face in my books
Right.
because, in a sense, your book is a brand, but you are the brand along with your book.
Right. And there's a little
So,
piece of yourself in your words that you write on that page. And you literally put your life literal in a literal
yes.
sense, your rock and roll life into your book. And like my first book that I wrote, it was just I think, like you said, it was like, I think I have something in me. Let me get it out there. And I literally vomited the book within like 2 months or less than 2 months. I only wrote a couple hours a day, and then I got it out, and it was the rewrites that took forever, but it came out of me, and now I think that I'm going in that direction because I do
Hmm.
have that creativity. I mean, I owned a preschool, so I did a lot of the creative through that type of environment, you
Yes.
know?
And so it went, your creativity found like it always does. Like I did the parties, I did interior decorating. So all that's creativeness. Like I
Right.
can't understand why people can't put furniture together and a
Right.
color scheme, and it's like,
Right.
why can't you do that? That's so
Right.
easy.
I know.
And what are you talking about? But when you have that creativity, it's going to come out. So for me, it came out in the songwriting, it came out in the books, and if
I
it
swear we have a
becomes a
lot in
limited.
common. We have a lot in common, you and me. You say
Oh,
things and I'm like,
that's
yep,
great.
that's me. Yep, that's me. And in my brain, I'm thinking like, I'm just like her, but I'm actually not because you're so more accomplished with your writing and I can only aspire to be like you. How can moms like myself or just somebody who might think that they have a story in them, what advice could you give them to get started?
To like, as as I was on disability for a long time, and so I had a lot of time. So
Mhm.
I was doing, and then when I moved to Alabama, like I'm a New York girl, okay? I am a New York girl. And when my husband came and said, "Guess what? The company's moving down south," I said a lot of
Like what?
horrible, horrible words because I was looking for a bigger house in New York. Because when your children finish college, guess where they're going? They're coming right back to you. And I'm that mother who will always say, no matter what happens in your life, you always have a place to live with me. I will never turn you back.
Right.
Things happen in life, and that's why we're mothers, because we want to protect them.
My parents let me
Yep.
come back when I found adulting difficult. They let me come back to the house several times until I can get
Yeah.
back on my feet. Like I was back, I felt strong. I left. I came back. I'm like, I can't. My roommate left, and and they let me like a few times come back home. But then I left for good. I did. I got on my
Yeah.
own.
I did the same thing, but it was like living with a boyfriend, and those were all the musicians back then. And I would always come home, and
I have a
my father
question.
would nip. Yeah.
So, okay, can I ask you a question about the
Yeah.
type of writing? Okay, writing steamy scenes. Okay,
Mhm.
those are empowering, right? They're not to be shameful. Women should
No,
not be shamed when reading those type of books, right? They're not, because I can remember movies where they were like, or I don't know if it was a TV show, but they were like hiding it because they didn't want anybody to see the steamy book they were reading. You know what I mean? And so books like this, they're not meant to be shameful. They're meant to be empowering. Am I right? All right.
yes, because with my story, and you know, it's about a band, and so there are other members, and um, the female lead, the male lead, and then there's another male lead who's related to the female lead.
Mhm.
And then there are other two members of the band. So as the story progresses, those storylines have to reach out. Everybody's got to have their own storyline. It can't just be the two of them. The thing about my steamy scenes is it isn't gratuitous. It is about two people who are deeply in love with each other, and what that means to them, and how, they go through their life because they are so deeply in love. So it's nothing to be shamed about. They truly are in love. I didn't put any, I might have alluded when they were a bar band, like, oh yeah, you did that girl, you did that girl, but I don't go into it. I go into only people in the book who have a significant other, or they're married, and it's their love story. They each have their own love stories. And so it's meant to be sweet, romantic, um, a little spicy as you get into
And
it.
it's
Maybe
okay,
I'm going to
women,
give.
it's okay to go out there and buy a book that makes you feel a certain special way. And if you need to take a moment for yourself in a locked bedroom, that
Yep.
is on you. And if you need
Yes.
to, and you know what? Boys are all visual. They're going to watch porn and they're going to do their thing, but
Yes.
women, they can read the words and start their imagination will go there, and
Mhm.
they don't need they're smarter. First of all, we're smarter men. And
I've always thank you for saying that, Jessica, because um, I guess there are some women who are into porn. Personally, um, I'm not offended by it, but I don't watch it,
right,
because inevitably, it's always a guy, and then it's two girls, and
right,
it's like, I don't want to watch that.
right,
You guys, you want to watch that.
right.
I'm I don't like girls. I don't want to
Right.
watch
And
that.
I don't need to constantly hear this all the time either. That's
Yeah,
not
and
that's not making me like love thing. It's not
yeah,
tickling my
so that's
heartstrings
not
at all.
making me hot, by the
Right,
way.
right, right.
And so, yeah, guys, it's porn. For women, we want to read, we want to fantasize.
Right.
Um, like in my book, you might, because it's about rock and roll, and you might automatically, when I describe, I could say his name, Trevor. When I describe Trevor, you might say, oh my God. And you get a picture of some rock guy from from any time.
Right.
And that's the picture you're going to have in your
Well,
head.
we're the writers. I'm writing about a character, and he's in my mind, and I can exactly see what he looks like. But if I'm
Right.
reading the story, that person's going to see exactly what he looks like, because that is how you envision him. I can only explain his curves and his muscles and his curly hair as much as I can. You know what I'm saying? But it's you, the reader, that's going to see
And
the
that's
image
what you
in your own
want.
head. Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
you want. You want. That's why I don't put faces on my covers. It's kind of like, people have said to me, your covers tell me what the story is about, and that's my wonderful artist. So that's not. I
Steal
give
her
her. I'll
cover
say,
too.
what's that?
Can I steal her too? No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She would love it. Um,
Funny.
when we'll have a Zoom meeting, and she'll be like, okay, give me the highlights. And I'm like, this, and this. And she's like, okay. And then she creates it. And she sent me what was first draft. And I said, yeah, I'm good. Now the editor, okay, because the third book, there's an RV involved. And my book cover artist traveled in an RV with her husband for like 2.5 years. They lived in their RV. So she knows about them. And so she said, oh, so cool. She said, I'll make it like a tour bus because they're in a rock band. And I said, do whatever you want. You got it. And so the editor came back and said, we either need to change the text in the book, or she's going to have to change the tour bus looking thing on the cover. And so I forwarded it to her, and she came back and she said, she went into detail with a class one, you know, RV, it could have a tour bus chat. And she went into the detail, and I said, we're leaving it. We're leaving it. If she said we're good, then we're good. And, so all of those things make it
Do your book,
better.
can I ask you one more question? I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
because I always interrupt you, and
No.
I'm so sorry, but I have these
Yeah.
thoughts, and I want to get them out there.
Get them out.
Is your book like your second book and your third book? Are they based on the same characters, or do you start like different threads,
It's
and build upon different threads in each book?
well, yes, I do, but it's the main characters are throughout the book.
Yeah.
And the books are from Gina's point of view. Okay. So everything, and that's what I'm always reminded by my editor. Remember, it's her POV. And I'm like, okay. But I introduce characters, and in the first two books, it's basically her parents, the band, the band's manager, the band's producer, what happens when they go on their first tour, their second tour. Some of the people from the touring actually come into the book later, but since there's 5 of them, and one of the band members is her cousin, who is like her brother.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the interplay between the two of them, because they grew up, and I pulled from my Italian side. They grew up going to Catholic school, and the Catholic Church was really important. My father did not do that to us, but
I did it. My parents put me in Catholic school.
oh, my father threatened. He threatened me. He said, "I'm going to send you," because where I lived in Westchester, there was only one co-ed Catholic school, and it was either boys or girls. And there was one not far, and he's like, "I'm going to put you in Maria Regina. I'm going to put you in there." And I said, "Do you know Catholic school girls are worse
Right.
public school girls,
No
Dad?"
shit.
So
Like one of my good friends growing up, her dad was a preacher, and man, these preacher girls, like, you know what I mean?
they're bucking the system. They're bucking the system.
So
But
funny.
I do put a lot of Catholic doctrine into the book, because then there's her mother, and she's, her father they're very wealthy, and part of their wealth, like, think of like, and it's the only person that comes to my mind right now because I'm from New York, like Donald Trump, when he, in the 70s, I lived with him my whole life. He was a big deal. I am who I am right now, and I like myself, and I'm sure of myself. I don't know what being in your 40s does to you, but it's like a light opens. And women out there, if you're in your 40s, enjoy it, because it's like God sheds this light on you and says, this is it. This is what you need to do. And you become confident. You do things that maybe you would never think you would do, and you're proud of who you are. And it's a very emancipating decade of your life.
Right. I started the largest preschool in Bakersfield, and had a staff of 28, and built this really huge $1 million business. And then the economy went to crap in 2008. Thank you, Obama. And then and everybody was losing their jobs. And when Dad loses his job, he doesn't need daycare. He just needs to stay home with his kid until he can find a job. And so the business was fluctuating. Then my daughter was born with tetralogy of Fallot. It's a heart condition, and she was in need of a heart surgery within the first 5 months of being born. And she had a hard time eating because she'd fall asleep during eating because her heart was just so weak. And so I just laid in bed with my boob attached to her, like and I'm like, and I just was letting my girls run the business. And finally, when an offer came to buy my business, I said, yeah, because I was ready to let it go. But I did build it was amazing what I did do, but um, and then I had to decide what else I was going to do. And after my daughter started school and was doing better, she was 3. My husband's like, okay, you have to get a job or you have to go to school. And I'm like, school, please.
Yeah.
So then I went and got my master's degree. So, and now I work in broadcast media, which is what my day job is. And then now I'm starting the podcast. But I mean, in my 40s, I did something about me just said I can do it. Like I can put more, whatever I put my mind to, I can do it. And I did it.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know what it is, ladies out there, all you moms, get away from reality TV. Get off of your phones when you're playing those little games and you're starting to put yourself in financial ruin because you're like you have to pay another $5 to get more coins to play your video game.
Oh, I never did that, but I played them.
Beth's book. Beth, tell me a little bit about the names of your books so that our listeners can go, and where can they buy them and where can they find you on social media? Let's talk about that real quick so we give everybody an idea of where to go find your books.
Okay, so it's called the Perfection Saga, but book 1 is called Playing Hard.
Love it.
And the names of the books kind of give you an idea. Second book is called Playing High.
All right.
And the third book, which will be out in a couple of weeks, is called Playing Rough. And they're on Amazon.
Okay.
They are also, if you go to barnesandnoble.com, you can get them. Any of those big bookstores.
Are they on like Book Talk or any of that type stuff? Or
well, now I'm trying to get. If enough people love my book, Book Talk will put me on a display in Barnes and Noble because I don't think people understand that every time you go into Barnes and Noble and you see the big tables of books, those are all owned by the publishing companies. They pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get your books. Book Talk does have a display, but it has to be a highly demand book. And trust me, anything that I see with Book Talk, I'm like, please put my books up there because my books are different. It's
right.
I'm going to give you the real nitty gritty of the rock scene, and how fame does change you and how fame can change your life and all of those things that we think are so wonderful. Like, oh my God, do I want to be famous with these books? Absolutely. But there's a cost, and there's always a cost. So you have to interweave that with the story. So that's where you can get them. I am on every social media platform. Just put my name in and it will come up.
So is it your full name or is it just
well, like on Facebook and Instagram and Threads, it's at Beth Pellino-Dudzic.
okay.
And on X, I think it's Beth New Author. My daughter created that one.
You know what? Okay, so what I'm going to do is my website, and forgive me, everybody, but I am working with somebody, a marketing team that is, I hope they don't hear this, but they're not doing a great job. Like I could probably go put my damn freaking website together on my own and have it done already, but it's not done. And so when it is done, you're going to be able to see all of Beth's information, where to find her, all about her books. And this little, you'll have probably a little bit of this podcast so you can kind of remind you of what she looks like and what the story's about. You go find her, go buy her book series, take it, put it next to your book, put it next to your bedside and read them. You don't have to share it with anybody that you're reading these little hot tamale books. And you need to take some time out for yourself. And even if it's on the airplane or in the bathtub or by the pool when you're watching your kids swim, go grab a book, go grab one of Beth's books. I bet you it'll be worth it. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to grab your series because I'm
I love
excited.
it.
I'm excited. However, like you said, I'm writing a story, so I might wait until after I'm done because I don't want
Yes.
you influencing my words.
I totally understand. By the way, people can, my marketing person said to me, she Googled me and she said, oh my God, all this stuff is here about you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
is there anything bad?
Right.
And she said, no, but, so I have not Googled myself because I think it's, I don't know. I don't want to do it.
I Googled myself. Okay. Actually just yesterday, I was like, Jessica Danielle. And I was like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. There's my face. And there's I am on there. And there I am on X. And oh, by the way, X just suspended my account for some reason yesterday. I was like, what did I do? I put stuff. I don't know. And I'm wondering if it's because the music that I put on there is stuff that I've created on Suno, but it looks and sounds so professional. They think that maybe it's somebody else.
Copyright infringement.
Yeah, but it's not, and I can use
know.
it as much as I
Well,
want.
they might be investigating it and then they'll release you.
I'm like, what did I do? I just put pictures of my family. Like, hello, middle finger to you. Not that I would.
That is acceptable though, Jessica.
Middle finger.
If you did that, that would be acceptable.
Middle finger. I just want to say thank you so much. We're going to leave it there, but I want everybody to go check out your books, and I'm excited I'll purchase them. I'll put them on hold, and I'm going to write my own romance novel. Let's see if it turns out to be anything, but it won't go anywhere if I don't have someone like your team to help me, push it forward.
The A-team.
Well, we're going to talk more after this episode.
Yes.
So anyways, thank you for coming, and have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Gather around when the sun dips low, talking about the days we used to know.